Hello, everyone, and welcome to this NaviPro webinar. My name is Martin Chagnon. I'm a Director of Sales at NaviPro. Today, we'll be discussing artificial intelligence, and to help us explore this topic, I'm pleased to welcome our guest, Filip Draskovic, Senior Partner Technical Specialist at IBM. Filip, thanks for being with us.
Glad to be here.
Good. So before I hand things off over to Filip, who will introduce us to what IBM watsonx Orchestrate, I'd like to begin by sharing a few insights from our latest edition of our IT Trend Report. So, Filip, if you could put the chart on. So, for those of you who may not be familiar with it, the IT Trend is NaviPro's annual report conducted in partnership with the firm Léger. Each year, approximately 450 organizations across Canada are surveyed on a wide range of IT related challenges and priorities. The respondents include both IT decision makers and leaders from other business functions, giving us a well rounded perspective on the issues organizations are facing today. Based on the survey, NaviPro publishes this report to provide valuable insights into emerging technology trends and the future direction of the IT in Canada. So I'd like to dig in a little bit more and share with you some statistics, more specifically on AI. So if you could change the slides, Filip. So one of the key findings from this 10th edition of the IT Trends is that organizations have moved beyond AI pilot projects and are now entering the experimentation phase. This marks a significant shift compared to last year's edition and reflects the growing maturity of the AI adoption across Canadian business. We also found that generative AI remains the most widely used form of AI today, with an adoption rate of 32%. I'll let Filip dive deeper into what that means and why we're seeing this trend. However, some of the results were a little bit more surprising. As you can see on this slide, there's a noticeable difference in perception between IT and non-IT decision makers. One might expect that business leaders outside of IT are the one pushing the hardest for AI adoption and investment, but our findings suggest that's not necessarily the case. 39% of non-IT vice presidents say they are not using AI in any meaningful ways. And only 24% of non-IT vice presidents plan to invest in AI compared to 35% of IT decision makers. So, if you'd like to explore more statistics and insight on artificial intelligence as well as other key IT topics, I encourage you to download the IT Trend Reports for free. With that, I'd like to hand things over to Filip, who will walk us through the latest AI trends and show how IBM watsonx Orchestrate is helping organization put AI to work. Filip, I now
Thank,
pass it on to you.
thank you, Martin. Thanks very much. So, as we dive into the AI trends, based on the statistics you've seen, there are certain important metrics that we should also kind of start with, and this kind of was from an IT trend report. You can see that there are some challenges as organizations are going and starting to experiment with AI. One of the biggest challenges that they're running into is actually going in and productionizing it, right? So the productivity gains are not there yet because things that haven't been done and put into production or actual value has been yet realized. So companies are implementing it, they're experimenting, but there's still some challenges remaining. Some of those challenges if we can kind of put them in three big buckets, really deal with data being still siloed and all of the components of those workflows basically being fragmented, and the knowledge worker or the person who's trying to use the system still has challenges getting information from multiple different places. So these systems that are kind of systems of record or systems source of the information are still not talking to each other. So that's kind of where the time and the productivity is lost, is trying to basically connect all the data and reconcile all the data across different platforms. In addition, a lot of times the staff, the employees are spending time repeating the same tasks or importing the data or cleaning the data, pasting data, and kind of gathering the data. So those tasks are kind of call it tedious and repeatable. However, the actual high value employee should not be spending that time working on those tasks. They could spend time working on the more valuable work for the organization. At the same time, a lot of these executives are still reporting that when they need information to make a decision, they're not getting it fast enough, not when they need it and in the format that they need it, right? So it's basically taking too long to get to the information. So those are still some challenges that we need to solve and that we're working on currently to kind of get those productivity gains realized from use of AI. And if we talk about how where the historically in the last several years how we've developed or seen the AI and agentic AI applications develop, we have seen that currently the trend and everything that's going towards is started with basically just standard fixed flow AI assistants, which means there were basically very standard logic. There was a workflow, but if anything fell out of that workflow, it was difficult to switch, or it was difficult, kind of the productivity stopped because you had to predetermine all of the results or kind of guess all the avenues that somebody would take to basically use the application or the actual chatbot as it started. Then the next step was when the generative AI came in. We had a lot of AI assistant introductions, and in this case, we saw some productivity gains. We saw some ability to manage the conversation. Large language models got in here, where the natural language understanding of the actual agents and assistants came in, and they could direct and understand the intent that the customer, the user of the application had, so that you can actually then direct and kick off the proper workflow to resolve the query, to resolve the situation for the customer in that application. But where we're now and where we're today with the capabilities that we have, we can actually do much more than just kind of recognize intent. We can do a bit more predictive kind of a stat of predictive workflows where the smart routing of these requests can happen because we have multiple different agents working together, and the orchestration of those agents kind of became the key. So knowing when to kick in which skill, which agent to basically resolve the query and actually do reasoning and know when to ask clarifying questions and things like that. So that's kind of where the AI agents kind of currently are, and kind of where we are today with that technology. So this is where we see this the next way, where we basically have the ability to use the agents so that they can help resolve a lot of different types of questions at the same time. So, and how do we do that? Is we have that orchestration layer that sits in front of the agents and understands and knows which agent to kind of kick off, and also clarify and know when to basically engage the right tool or the right agent for the task that's required, versus kind of halting and saying, I don't have the answer for this. Here's the link to documents, and kind of stop there, right? So we want to make sure that the kind of the agent or the assistant that use the AI assistant that the actual customer or the end user is using does not really kind of hit the roadblock and stops, right? We want to be able to make sure that it routes to the right workflow, and at the end of the day, potentially switches over to live assistance or live help, or basically is able to create a ticket or create something that's going to be followed up on, and then kick off the follow-up, call it process after that, so that the end user, the user of the application or the system, doesn't feel like things haven't been resolved or nobody's looking at it, right?
Philip,
Yes, go ahead.
if you go back to the previous chart,
Yeah.
it says there by 2028, a third of the interactions will generate with generative AI will use Automatus agent.
Yeah.
Do you have a feel of what it is today?
Well, the thing is today is, I guess the reality is that there is a little bit of a, call it risk, of kind of letting go of that control, right? So that right now, that's the challenge where a lot of these applications have not been released to be fully automated, just because there's still checks and balances that need to be put in place, such as governance and things like that, so that you can actually allow these agents to be completely autonomous. But the idea of making them autonomous is that they can actually be fully, call it in a way, not require a human intervention, but still be reliable enough that the company can rely on that agent to kind of run a certain part of their business or a certain part of the actual tasks that need to be done, right? So right now, the that's kind of still in its infancy stage. That we haven't seen it fully put into production because some of these roadblocks that we talked about ahead of time is that the data behind the scenes is not all connected. There are these issues with potentially that silent data and fragmented data, and still not being fully taken care of. That's kind of what from an IBM perspective, the application, the Orchestrate application is bringing in to kind of help resolve some of those roadblocks and challenges as we go ahead and we start putting things into production, testing and getting the ROI back out of it, if it makes sense.
Okay, yeah,
So
makes sense.
right now, that's why kind of right now, it's a third of interactions. That seems kind of a 30%. That's like we're still looking 2 years from now, right? But that's because it's right now we still haven't um, um, we haven't seen it full adoption. These are those roadblocks that we're seeing right now that we're working on to kind of remove so that actually gets to that point.
Okay,
Um, cool. So a couple things and this is an interesting, for me, it's one of the like my favorite slides. It's or kind of a views of the current environment or current market. Um, from an IBM perspective, there's a lot of collaboration and competition at the same time with a lot of companies in the market in this space today. And why is it competition and collaboration? Is because a lot of our solutions run on different platforms from hyperscaler or different with platforms, and we also integrate and work with them. So in some cases, people are kind of wondering how is IBM different than Microsoft solutions and things like that. So that's kind of what this particular slide kind of is trying to capture in one shot to kind of pinpoint where the gaps are and what IBM is trying to do to kind of fill those gaps. So if we talk about the big hyperscalers, the big players in this market, such as Microsoft, Google, AWS, and even Oracle, they are great on their own. So basically, they have great solutions, wide adoption, scalability is off the charts. So they basically they kind of stand on their own, and companies can develop solutions just with that one, call it vendor, right? However, challenges that we see in the market and from our clients is that these hyperscalers, everything that's built runs only on cloud and runs only on their cloud. So if you build an application, you build a solution on Microsoft, and for whatever reason, let's say you have to port that over to AWS in the future, it's a complete rewrite, right? So basically, there's no ability to run in multiple clouds, and you have to run everything on Microsoft. So it's very difficult to kind of port it over. That's one problem. The other problem is that very few situations you'll run into where one large company will just use one cloud. They usually have multiple cloud providers. So what's missing at that point is that cross-cloud orchestration and also some cost efficiency gains that arise from using multiple clouds. Not only that, A lot of times, especially if you're working in government, I mean, in Canada, we have that from a call it data sovereignty kind of a angle. We have challenges where the clients actually potentially either don't want things on the cloud, or B, they need it to run on-prem, and for various reasons that they don't actually don't want their data to reside anywhere, or the services that they're using to go anywhere that's not within Canada or Canadian service. So the challenge, of course, is that what if you need a solution that runs on-prem, and it's a air-gapped solution because you're either it's a defense type of a government implementation, or it's highly sensitive data, things like that. You need ability to either run on-prem or run in a hybrid type of a solution. So that's one gap that, for example, if you're just committed to one hyperscaler, you would run into. In a similar way, other platforms that are ERP systems, CRM systems, so systems of record such as Workday, ServiceNow, think SAP, they all do their core objective or core role perfectly well. And all of them actually started embedding AI into their systems. But those AI applications or components are highly specialized work for their domain, right? But what happens when you need let's say when you hire somebody, or when you do some procurement, or when you're an employee that needs to resolve a technical issue with their laptop or anything like that, that particular interaction requires cross-platform integration, right? Because if you're hiring somebody, you need to basically enter all their information and get them loaded in Workday. Then you may need to create a ticket to request their laptop, their internet, username, password, all the logins and everything else that potentially now are going to go into ServiceNow. You need to be able to go pay them, so potentially it works into a financials application. And then what if, let's say, that person is a sales rep? You need to create their territory and load all of that stuff in Salesforce, right? So that is something that you cannot necessarily do easily, and it requires a lot of different workflows, a lot of different stopgaps and checks that are potentially a manual process still today. So this is kind of where IBM sees that missing integration across different domains to kind of do something as simple as automate, onboarding a new hire, or resolving systems issue for a person, or doing some kind of a procurement type of application. So these are all things that require cross domain integration, and that is the gap that we also see. So, is there a platform that can talk to all of these different service providers and integrate with them out of the box, and be able to facilitate kind of a hiring process where at the click of a button you can kind of just say initiate a new hire application, and you provide all the information, and in one shot through this workflow, all of this stuff that you need to do for a new hire would be kind of taken care of with tickets created automatically, reports coming back, and that person kind of being onboarded. So those are the types of solutions that we see that the market requires. Then when we get into basically the large language model providers, different model providers, they are basically they create such a big, or did I should say advance this big boost in kind of a what I want to say, not only productivity, but new ideas, new solutions. Imagining things that we didn't think it could be done before. All of those model providers really kind of put us to the forefront of this kind of exploration of AI and use of AI. And they are basically used to, and they integrate with large systems. The challenge we have with just the speed of everything happening and the development of these models and new models coming in, we have potentially a challenge to validate kind of how secure, how truthful those models are. Because everything's developed so quickly, nobody potentially stops and double checks is, where did you get that data, right? Where did you get the data for that particular model application? Is that data being debiased? Is it validated? Is it true? Is it free of any copyright, right? And you can just kind of see the amount of lawsuits in the market where some of these providers are engaged right now to kind of Make sure that, has the copyright thing been, taken care of? Have you paid all the data source providers their, revenue, royalties, or fees and everything else? There's a lot of examples where all of that hasn't happened. What does that all boil down to? It boils down to what we call, in simple terms, missing governance and enterprise controls. Like, so basically, making sure that your company that's using these models is kept out of the news, right? That's kind of what we're trying to accomplish here. So that's the gap that we see, is that, making sure that you're using things that will not get you in trouble, or that you can actually prove that the data used to train those models has been vetted and validated, right? And again, the last piece, kind of related to the model providers, is a lot of this open source technology, which it's what I like to say. I use quotations when I say it's free. It's free to a point, right? Because the software, the actual open source is free, but there's a lot of labor and a lot of other risks that come to it that potentially do not make it free software, right? So it's really allowing us to rapidly innovate, develop applications, solutions, and people have a freedom to kind of put it together any way they see fit. But again, it's missing those checks and balances that to make sure that things are secure. You haven't introduced the malicious code into your environment. Who's going to check that, right? And then at the same time, who's going to support it? Who's going to support that when something fails? And you don't have a 1-800 number to call, right, to support. So there's no that enterprise capability that allows you to have a supported environment in your production system. A lot of companies these days, of course, they cannot deploy something that doesn't have a support defined, and SLAs and everything else, which open source, of course, does not provide. So those are call it the things that we think about from an enterprise and level, or what companies need to think about as they get into AI and they use different platforms, they use different solutions. We're seeing these gaps, regardless, if you're using, just all hyperscaler stuff, or if you're, integrating with different platforms and you're doing different model providers and everything else. It's not as simple as asking ChatGPT, hey, do something. Like, you have to kind of have something like that, but at the enterprise level, enterprise scale, to do basically to simplify these everyday tasks that you're doing, but you have to make sure they're done in a secure, in a way that can be scalable and also supported at the same time. That's kind of where we fit in. When I say we, I'm meaning IBM and IBM Solutions. So all of that boils down to, we have these fragmented systems that all may have their own AI capabilities that were brought in by the vendor who provides that system. But as a employee or client or user or VP in a company, you need to interact with all those different systems, and you need to kind of go and open, for lack of a better word, like 5, 6 different screens to get information that you need in one spot. This is where we see that all of those different systems and solutions can be, call it, orchestrated in one unified flow, where that particular knowledge worker, user, VP, executive, or a regular employee who needs to complete a task can go in and talk to, basically, or have an interface that's a natural language interface that can just start my day. I'm going to request this, and behind the scenes, we're going to have this orchestration layer that basically is going to go and understand what the user wanted, ask clarifying questions, and then basically route to the right solution provider, to the right agent that will solve, like, or complete the task. And then at the same time, the user can do a little bit of what we can digression, go and ask a clarifying question, go somewhere else, finish that, come back, and that whole train of thought will be remembered, and we'll be able to continue the conversation, and the user will be able to do multiple things kind of in one shot, in one session. That is kind of what we want to accomplish, so that it's done in an efficient way, fast, and the user gets the data, the information they need to make a decision when they want it, when they need it, in a correct, secure way. So that's kind of the in a nutshell what we're trying to accomplish with our agentic orchestration. And when we talk about now use cases, where do we see the best success, or the highest ROI, or the value that is provided? What are the use cases that really fit this particular, call call it orchestration well, or where we actually are able to replace and augment a lot of these manual tasks and kind of free up the time to do more productive things. We see it in basically areas where we are actually taking these call it the tedious tasks and everything else, and ability to go in and implement these solutions, in a certain area, such as procurement, sales, IT, and HR. So those are the areas where we see that the applications that we're talking about gain the best call it ROI from utilization or use of AI. So unifying the work that we're doing in one basically in one space where all of these silos that you have are eliminated. When we free up the staff members, the workers from their call it routine tasks and basically automating all that and freeing them up to do more valuable work and getting the leaders who need to make decisions, giving them ability to access that information very quickly. And then the latest and kind of maybe one of the most important things is that what we provide, or what we see that the success is basically making sure that whatever you deploy can be moved from on-prem to cloud or hybrid implementation, and that basically allows you to avoid vendor lock-in, right? So you're not only stuck to one provider, and then if you need to refactor something or need to create something else, you're not stuck to that vendor, right? So those are the different areas that we see the best success. So in summary and to kind of and call to action, what we invite is all our clients and partners to basically follow our blueprint to get value out of the agentic AI quickly and to basically put it to use. So what we like to do is call it plan, play, adopt, accelerate, and scale the solution. So, and that's all done within 3 to 6 months time frame. So everything starts with getting your hands on quickly to our platform, to our software, so that you can basically work with us to identify your priority use cases and domains, and see how it can be implemented very quickly. And from day one, you'll be able to explore, build, and experiment in a live environment. So all of our clients with our partner support, what we invite them to do is create their pilots that they can be quickly basically put into production. And they can connect to their environment, their enterprise data and applications, and basically put them into production at an accelerated pace. So within 3 months, you would have actually not only built your first agent, you would have multiple agents for multiple domains. You can see how the orchestration platform works and connects all of those, and so that the actual requests from the users are routed to the right agent. And the next step would be just to kind of scale that and rinse and repeat. So these are the types of blueprints we follow with our partners who help us implement the solutions and deploy the platform to our clients. So what I want to do is thank Novipro very much for being a great partner and accelerating the implementation of AI, agentic AI with our clients and their clients. And thank you for your time today, and happy to
Yeah.
follow up and start on your pilots and your different projects.
Yeah, and if I may add, Philip, we've been successful in deploying the IBM watsonx Orchestrate at some customers, so they could realize their value quickly. And I think the blueprint that you put there is very realistic. So I encourage all of the customers to be listening to this webinar to please feel free to reach out either to your IBM rep or to Novipro, and we can definitely sit down and help you realize this value quickly. So, Philip, thanks for
Fully agree.
the quick insights. It was very valuable, and I thank everyone who's listening to the webinar. Feel free to reach out. We're there to help you.
Thank you. Hans, thanks for having me. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.